beautiful people. My name is Emma.
And I'm MC.
And we are your hosts of the G-Forces podcast. Welcome back for season 2.
We're starting at the beginning this time.
Yeah, we did take an unannounced break again. Just because it's the off season and there wasn't anything going on and we had things we had to get done in our regular life.
There wasn't anything going on and then there was everything going on.
Yeah, then it just turned into absolute chaos.
Yeah. So
we're going to talk about that chaos.
Yeah, we're going to do, we're going to chit-chat about everything that's happened, all the drama, the fact that silly season happened in preseason. So we're going to just kind of break down all the things that might be brought up on the first weekend of racing.
Preseason testing is in 3 days.
Yeah.
And then the first race is in a week and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And Drive to Survive season, 6, comes out soon as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think it comes out this upcoming weekend.
Something like that, yeah.
They don't like it coming out the same weekend as the first race because media partners of F1 don't want the competition of Netflix on the same race week, which makes sense.
Yeah. Plus, do that recap of what happened last year as a refresher for people. I mean, it all makes sense.
Yeah.
It's yeah. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah. We will definitely be watching it. I don't know if we'll start it together, but we'll probably finish it together.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll definitely, meet in the middle.
Yeah, because we are both the worst kind of people, and we'll start watching something together, and then the other's not home, and one of us wants to continue
watching.
Most
of the time, it's I'm not home, and Emma wants to continue watching.
I work from home every day, so I like having stuff on in the background as I'm working.
Yeah. I'm just intrigued, too, to see...
I want to see how they spin the storylines.
That, having seen, obviously, only half... more than half.
The majority of the
season. I'm interested to see the way they spin it, but also having watched the season and knowing when things happened, I'm curious to see it from a fan's perspective now.
Yeah. Because
so many people's biggest issue is the timeline is so wacky watching it.
Well, that's actually the trailer and the poster for the season. Max isn't in any of it. How are you going to have that when he won almost every race of the season? So it's going to be really interesting. I've seen several people come up with drinking games for the season. Don't know if we'll participate in that one. But there are versions of it out there if you want to join in on that. But
yeah.
Anyways, shall we get into some of the quick bits before we really get into everything else?
Yeah.
So the quick bits, we can just do real quick right now. So, there is a Madrid Grand Prix that I believe is going to be fully replacing the Barcelona Grand Prix. That is going to start in 2026, I believe.
Yeah.
And it's a street race. A lot of people aren't too happy about that. We are the minority that's kind of happy about it. I'm sad that Barcelona's going because I really like it.
We're the minority having never gone to the Barcelona Grand Prix.
I think the Barcelona Grand Prix was one of the ones I really wanted to go to.
It was on the list.
And I wish they were keeping that track, but we have family in Madrid, and we love Madrid, and I would love to go, and we could make it a whole big family event.
Yeah.
So it'd be a lot of fun for us personally, but also this is a very large sport and not just us.
Yeah, we don't...
The sport does not cater to us.
Yeah.
Even though sometimes I feel like it does. There was also a trademark put in for a Chicago Grand Prix by F1. Don't think I like that idea. I've been to Chicago many times. It's too congested of a city. It's like the equivalent of driving through New York City. It's just, there's too much stuff happening. I think visually it would be very pleasing.
You can make the same argument with Vegas though and be like, there's too much congestion and they managed to do it. I don't know how, Americans are feeling on this, but, I'm just, another American race.
If they were to do another American race, they have to cater to American timing.
My other problem is, though, the inconvenience. Visually, these street courses are, incredible, But I think in terms of, like, money, expense, manpower, and just, like, the day-to-day of these cities, it's incredibly inconvenient.
Oh, yeah.
And you have these more historical race courses in other countries around the world.
Again, in South Africa.
In continents that aren't even being utilized.
I feel so bad for the Australian fans because almost every single race for them is at, like, 2 o'clock in the morning.
But it's just, like, for me, it's revisit the more historical races, revisit the places.
People would love if you went back to the old historical places.
And it's tough because I understand that, like, sometimes, like, the facilities just, like, bankruptcy, you know, mismanagement. We've seen that with some of, like, the history deep dives we've done. But my biggest issue is, like, Formula One, FIA, you have so much money. Sit there and spend the money and really love the history of the sport. Put it back into it. Yeah, there's something really amazing about, like, Monaco being a street course and, like,
but it's
Vegas
one of the
is
most
really cool.
ones.
But, like, that's the thing is that, like...
That's why people want to go to Monaco is because of how historical it is.
I don't know. I just think of, like, the inconvenience, the hatred that...
Vegas
got from the people in Vegas.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like, it's another American city. Like, I don't know. Go somewhere else. Like, there's so many other... places.
100%.
But I don't know, that's my 2 cents. Sorry, this is supposed to be a quick bit, so I just ranted.
The last quick one on courses is that Silverstone had an extension, so it will be a track for
another 10 years.
I don't remember how long. I probably should have double checked that one. But
to the 2030s.
It doesn't really matter because it's one of our favorites, and I feel like that will probably be the one that we cough up the money to go to.
Yeah. I think again, it's just like there's so, like, it's been around for so long.
Oh, yeah. I mean, literally every turn has a name.
Yeah.
So, shall we get into the rest of everything else?
Yeah, let's get into the next bit.
So one of the big things that is changing for next year is the sprint format. So this was something that a lot of people had issues with this past year. The sprint format has changed every year it's existed. This year, the format is going to be, for a sprint weekend, is going to be practice 1, sprint qualifying on the first day. And the second day is going to be the actual sprint race. And then after that, they're going to do the full-on, like, long race qualifying. And then the third day is going to be the full race. I think I like the order of it, but I'm a little confused how they're going to do a full sprint race and then do qualifying, kind of like how Qatar was.
That's going to be interesting.
Don't know how that's going to go. I think it's going to make for some really interesting full on Grand Prix qualifying because you're going to have some people fatigued from the sprint.
But I also think you're going to have people playing it really safe in the sprint.
Probably.
Like, people, because, I mean, how many extra points is the sprint? Like, that's the thing.
Yeah, it's like
going to
10
become...
points.
Yeah, it's going to become that. Is it worth it? Like,
no. Because
that your team, like, if you mess up in that, you're done. Like, you're...
Well, so that's also one of the things that's changing for it. I believe Parc Fermé is changing for sprint weekends, so you're going to be able to work on your car all the way up through, like, qualifying for the full race. Because if you crash during a sprint, it's really not fair that
you take that penalty.
Yeah.
Really, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I'm sure the first weekend there will be huge learning curves.
I already know that Max probably hates it.
People are going to hate it. People are going to absolutely hate it, but... It's like every sprint weekend. It's freaking... We're learning. I don't know.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. I'm curious to see what year they just get rid of the sprints, if they ever do.
I don't think they ever will, but I think that they should instead, if they want to keep it in the way that they sort of have it, I think it was 2 years ago where your order and how you placed in a sprint race then determined your qualifying for the full race.
Yeah.
I think that would make it interesting.
Yeah.
Because then people would care about the sprint race and they would be trying really hard to get the best position possible.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's like weird.
And there's one less thing then. They don't have to do a full qualifying. They just do a sprint race.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't remember, we should have written it down, but on F1 they have all of the sprint weekends. I think it's 6 again this year.
Yeah.
Sprint races. And so F1 posted that a few weeks ago, which which races will be sprint weekends. As per usual, we will always let you guys know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm sure people will complain, like everything. But I hope we're a step closer to what people like, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But, all right, let's get into the teams for 2024.
Awesome.
All right, so for those that don't know, who are relatively new to F1, every single race, every single driver that was in the last race in the 2023 season is now starting in the 2024 season. So there is no grid change between the final race of 2023 and the first race of 2024, unless between now and the first race someone like runs into a tree and breaks a leg or something. Yeah. But essentially what we're going to do is we're just going to run through. There's been a few changes and some drama, and we're just going to kind of go through them, talk about what we've seen so far, what we're kind of expecting for the 2024 season, and just kind of talk about the grid that we're going to see.
Yeah.
So the first team we're going to talk about is Mercedes. Mercedes hasn't had any changes to their name, thank God, unlike other teams.
They did lose the Monster sponsorship, though.
Mercedes, the team, lost the sponsorship. Lewis Hamilton, the individual driver, did not lose his Monster sponsorship. But yeah, so Mercedes no longer has that Monster sponsorship, but their two team drivers are Lewis Hamilton and George Russell, and their team principal is Toto Wolff. The biggest drama, I don't want to say drama, I think news is better because drama makes it seem like gossip. The biggest news to come out of the Mercedes team.
This is genuinely massive.
Lewis Hamilton, was it a week ago or 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago.
Me and Emma were just casually, we were like asleep when it broke.
Yeah, I woke up and I was going to the bathroom and I was scrolling on my phone and I see that it was announced that Lewis was going to, so the announcement is Lewis is going to Ferrari in 2025.
So this
is his last season with Mercedes.
And he's been with Mercedes for
11 seasons.
Yeah, so this was huge, not only because of the relationship that Lewis Hamilton has with Mercedes, but also the timing. A lot of times an announcement like this is happened in that summer season break that happens at 3 weeks.
Well, and during the 2023 season, Lewis did make a few statements where he was like, I want to end my career with Mercedes.
I want another
Mercedes
championship.
is my home. Like, I can't imagine going anywhere else. And then all this comes out and it's like, what? I mean, did you see the stuff that Fernando was saying? Because apparently Lewis was like, it's a childhood dream of mine to race for Ferrari. And Fernando Alonso was like, no, it wasn't. Like, maybe in the last 6 months it became your childhood dream, but now, like, it wasn't back then.
So,
I think it's every driver's dream to drive for Ferrari.
I think Ferrari is like, it's like the be-all, end-all, you know? It is like the team. It's the team that everyone wants to be a part of. It's when people think F1 or when people think motorsports, they think Ferrari.
Yeah.
I will say, I think because Lewis has been such a Mercedes diehard for so long, we've never really heard him speak about Ferrari to the media. Now, I don't know if that's because like the good times were good and he wasn't interested, or if it was really like the car was a bigger struggle than even we thought, and we knew as spectators, we knew the car was struggling.
I'm not sure if they were necessarily taking his recommendations or like suggestions for the car.
I mean, I think like we all see these days, like to grow sometimes you have to leave, and you know, maybe as a team the team wasn't able to grow with Lewis and vice versa, but
when this all happened, we were brainstorming, like, we were just throwing out different ideas as to why this move happened. Like, did they have conversations with him being like, you're getting closer to the end of your career, it might be time for you to move on?
Was this a messy conversation where he has a percentage within Ferrari?
Yeah.
You know, was there financial benefit? You know, there's so many
and
possibilities.
Apparently he is going to be making $100 million, I don't know if it's dollars or euros a year, at Ferrari, which is going to be the most an F1 driver has ever made. So that also could have swayed his opinion.
Yeah.
And they're going to be doing a lot with his foundations that he's a part of.
But, along with all the negative perspectives that came out with this Lewis announcement, I will say we kind of talked about it, and I think that this kind of takes a power player out of the silly season movement. There's a lot of contracts that are up at the end of this
I think
season.
it shows that things are going to get moved around.
Yeah, and so I think it kind of takes, the biggest player on the board out. Ferrari is sealed in. That's it.
Yeah, it's going to be Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, so I definitely think the timing is interesting. It's never happened before, but it'll be... I'm curious to see who Mercedes is going to replace Lewis with, what we're going to see this season with Lewis and the team dynamic.
I fear it's a little awkward knowing that he's going to be going into the season and... They already know he's leaving at the end. I wonder if they just will not put him first, though, and it's going to be George they prioritize because George's contract is longer.
I really hope that the history and the time that Lewis has spent there, I hope that they take this, and instead of being like, oh, we don't care about Lewis anymore, making it a really great season for everyone.
Yeah,
I agree. I think this business is business.
Yeah.
And when people move all the time. Lewis has just been there for a really long time.
Yeah.
So that's Mercedes. The next team we're going to talk about, luckily, has no real drama or news.
Except for disappointing. Well, actually, hold on. Before we get to the next one. Mercedes and their car launch. The nose of the car is going to be silver, which is pretty cool. But... I did see a video of the new Mercedes car driving, I think, doing a test or a shakedown at Silverstone, and it did not sound great. It sounded very sad and disappointing. So fingers crossed that was just a bad day. But at least it wasn't as bad as Ferrari's, but we'll get to that when you get to Ferrari.
Okay.
Continue.
So, the next team is Alpine. So, the drivers for Alpine will be Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly. And the team principal is Bruno Famin. Honestly, I think the biggest disappointment that
the pink camo.
The biggest drama news surrounding Alpine right now is the fact that when all of the livery announcements were happening, a big fan favorite last year was the pink camo. I think I
don't know if they had it last year.
I swear
I think it was on their jackets.
It was on something last year, and everyone really, it was
those jackets, that Jack Doohan and I think Pierre were wearing at one point.
And that's the thing is that, so it was teased that it was going to be the nose of the car.
Yeah, which would have been
pink
sick.
Camo. And then they release it. They
released
the launch, and the first livery that is the livery that launches.
The liveries are not much different. Everyone's going for just straight carbon fiber livery to cut weight.
There's a lot of carbon fiber, but the biggest disappointment I think was the lack of pink camo that was teased that we don't get. But I don't know. Maybe they'll have some special one.
Yeah.
Who knows? So the next team on the grid is the Haas F1 team. The drivers are the same. They're Kevin Magnussen and Nico Hülkenberg. And then the team principal is Ayo Komatsu. The biggest news out of Haas is obviously that team principal name. Gunther is no longer with Haas.
Yeah.
So at the beginning, I believe at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, it was the beginning of the year.
It was announced that Gunther and Haas had parted ways.
And the comments that G and Haas were making were actually very savage. Where it was like, I'm no longer interested in being last place. And it was like, yikes. But I mean, it's not wrong.
Yeah, I mean...
At the same time, though, Ayo was the head strategist, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So how different can the team really become?
Well, I think it's a really good opportunity for Ayo to put his name out there. Not out there. Obviously, people know who he is. That's not what I'm saying. But, for him to be put in that leadership position is more along what I meant. I think to see a different leadership, obviously one person doesn't make or break a team, but one person can sway the momentum. And I'm not putting blame on, I think to put blame on not the failure, or just not the lack of success that Haas has seen, to put that on.
We all know how Mick Schumacher did at Haas.
Yeah,
the way he felt treated.
I think, unfortunately, and I don't know how easy it is being still new to the sport, I think you've removed single people before and it hasn't changed anything. I worry that, the new team principal is going to step in and he's just stepping into failure.
Yeah.
I
mean, they've already announced that their car is going to be the slowest on the grid. They've quite literally said that.
Yeah.
Because also, if you're going to change the team principal in January, the car's already developed for the last year, so nothing's going to change this year with their performance.
Yeah.
It's not going to change until next year. But even next year, it's not going to be that dramatic.
Yeah. I'm just curious to see what they're hoping to change.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see if, maybe the team dynamic just really was worse than we saw.
I think it definitely was.
But I also think,
what is Drive to Survive going to do without Gunther? He was the star of the show.
People loved him.
Yeah, Drive to Survive made me like him, and then I watched, races, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about you.
Yeah. Well.
Anyways, moving on.
That's Haas. All right. So the next team is the probably most unknown team, Red Bull Racing. There are two little drivers, are Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez.
Never heard of them.
Their team principal is Christian Horner. And the biggest news out of Red Bull Racing is not only does their car look incredibly different, there was also an internal investigation that was announced about 2 weeks ago. We're not really going to comment on the internal investigation pertaining to Christian Horner. Obviously, we don't work for Red Bull. Things have been kept very quiet. We really have no information or news. There's been nothing announced, but he was at the livery release, right?
Yeah.
And Red Bull said they would release a statement eventually, and so that's where we'll leave it, because there's really literally no other information.
Well, do you want to... we should say what the actual...
I don't know. It came out?
Allegations are, yeah.
Okay, so then say it.
That there were explicit content that he was sending to a female Red Bull employee of some sort. We don't know exactly what that, whether it was text messages or stuff, whatever. We don't know. All of this is alleged. So we are just saying what we have found on other news sources. And there was one of the sponsors for Red Bull that did make a statement saying, we do not stand for, explicit, sexual assault allegations. Yeah. So we would hope that Red Bull also stands for the same morals and will investigate this to the furthest possibility. They have not announced the results of their investigation. Mm-hmm. Apparently it was an 8-hour meeting or something like that, which I feel like is to be expected.
Yeah.
And there were some rumors going around. Again, everything I'm saying is alleged. There were some things going around that the female employee might potentially go to court with this. And that's all we're really going to say about that. We hope if things are true, that Red Bull goes through with it. If things aren't true, then just the situation can be figured out soon enough.
Yeah. But...
their car looks great, on the other hand. I'm kind of excited about their car. It looks like there's no side pods on it from what I've seen in the photos. And I also did see a video of the RB20 driving, and it sounds incredible. I almost was I walked into the living room, I was like, pack it up, guys. There's no point in watching the rest of the season, even though it hasn't even started yet, because we're all going to lose. Max is going to win again by even more this time, I think. It's actually actually depressing.
I'm curious to see if there's going to be any, like, FIA reviews of the car. Like, how many of the other teams are going to be quick to be like, something's alright.
You know that at preseason testing, when all the teams are together again, people are going to be standing at that car and, like, inspecting it to the highest, like, possible extent.
But yeah, so that's it on Red Bull. The next team is McLaren. So the two drivers for McLaren are Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris, and the team principal is Andrea Stella. Not much news out of McLaren other than Oscar extended as well as Lando.
Oscar extended during the 2023 season.
He extended last year.
Lando extended, they didn't say for how many years, but
they just said it was
several years.
Multi-year extension.
I'm guessing it was probably a 3-year contract. I'm excited. It's nice for my favorite team to feel settled and I don't have to worry anxiously all the time that I'm going to lose the drivers. And I think they're a pretty solid pairing. Like, they work well together. I think it's going to be good. McLaren also did just come out with a whole collab with Reese, which is a clothing company. It's high-end, not like a high-fashion brand, but, like, it's definitely pricey.
It's not Chanel, but it's not H&M.
Yeah. It's definitely out of my casual price range. Even though I did walk into Mary Catherine's room and was like, should I buy this fleece? It's only $330.
I talked her out of it, guys. I was
you see me in the next episode wearing the McLaren fleece. No. Now I feel like I have to get it.
No.
That's a lot of money, though.
Yeah.
They do have some leather jackets that range between 1,500 to 1,700 pounds. They look so nice. I don't know anyone who's going to be able to afford that, though, because I'm waiting for them to not even be real leather.
Like, if you do get them,
can you just let us know how it is?
I hope you enjoy it. They're beautiful.
I'm so jealous.
But, maybe one day.
But I think that this is the perfect concept of how racing can go into, like, fashion without it being, I hate to say it, without it being, like, an AlphaTauri situation. Like, I feel like the McLaren Reese collab is, like, everyday wear that still, like, it still says McLaren, where AlphaTauri was, like, a fashion brand that the drivers would just wear.
Well, and I think you're seeing that with what we just saw with, like, the Super Bowl and the one girl who designs the clothes.
Yes.
Oh my God, her name.
I don't know how to say her last name.
Oh my God, I can literally picture her. But basically how they're making
Kristen something.
Kristen, it's a wish. There's a lot of letters.
Yeah.
Anyways.
It's like a J and a K and then
there's
a lot going on.
Anyways, they're basically taking, like, items, because when you think about the whole sports apparel world, it's made for men by men.
Yeah.
And so, like, women don't want to sit there and wear an XXL sports jersey to things.
No, absolutely not.
And so you have McLaren teaming up with Reese. You have, oh my God, her name. And I don't want to... Her husband is always, like, lifting her up on his platform.
He's a 49ers player.
Yeah, I know. Anyways, she's designing things. She's cutting up the men's apparel and designing them into things that, like, women want to wear. And so it's just nice to see that, like, you can have sports. You can be a sports fan, but it's not going to just be the typical sports jersey or the same hat.
You can be a sports girly and still be girly.
Yeah.
Girly.
Yeah. It's just nice.
It's turning sports into a little girly pop.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Thank you for summarizing what I was trying to say in 32 seconds.
Next team.
All right. Again, some of the teams, like, have a lot of news happening, and then other teams have just been, like, which...
I think it depends on the drivers and who they are as people.
The next team is Aston Martin. The two team drivers are Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso, and the team principal is Mike Crack. Again, nothing really...
They've both been very quiet, the two of them.
They've both been very quiet. I feel like...
I miss Fernando Alonso, honestly.
Aston Martin's socials have been pretty, like, active, but they've been kind of more, like, keeping our eye on the goal, or, like...
I think they've probably been, like, focused.
Like, they're always, like...
They all the teams
Eye
always
on the
post
prize.
like I love the teams, but they always post some of the cringy stuff where they're like, yeah, where it's like eye on the prize,
And then it's like
or
a zoom in on Fernando's eye when he's wearing his helmet, and it's like eye on the prize. And you're like,
I just know if there was
wow.
ever like a Grand Prix in Philadelphia, they would definitely have videos of all the drivers like running up the like the art museum stairs doing like a Rocky situation.
Yeah. Honestly, if you'd given them a microphone at the Vegas Grand Prix, one of them would have screamed Viva Las Vegas the way Travis Kelce did. Like,
I'm trying to figure out which one would have done it.
Daniel Ricciardo.
Oh, no doubt about
Like,
it. I don't know
you
why I had to
didn't
think
have to
about
think
that.
of that. I was like, same energy.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, so Aston Martin's been pretty quiet. I think, obviously, there was huge amounts of disappointment at the end of 2023, so I think they're kind of keeping an eye on the prize and focusing.
Yeah.
So yeah, the next one is Visa Cash App Racing Bulls.
We did at one point think that it was going to be Hugo Boss Racing Bulls.
I didn't think it would be Visa Cash App.
I'm not really a big fan of the brand sponsor names as the name of the team. It's not really my thing. Does Visa own Cash App?
It's just, who thought in an
Imagine it was like Visa Venmo, or like Venmo, GroupMe, Racing Bulls.
WhatsApp. I just think
iMessage.
who thought in an investor, like, where was the creative person?
Oh,
in
they
an
didn't
investor
care.
meeting?
They were just like money.
Like, it just blows my mind that someone at Visa and Cash App and Racing Bulls, because there are probably 3 companies, all sat in the room
Racing
and thought,
Bulls is what
no,
like,
I know.
the team is.
No, I know that, but I'm saying, like, you couldn't have sat in a room and thought of something more creative.
No.
Like, you could have done anything else.
No one was there in the room when it happened. I'm sorry, I just quoted it.
But anyways, they're drivers. I don't. What are we gonna call them for the Racing Bulls?
Yeah, that's like my one worry where like
Like
say they're in the middle of a race, like they'll be like Charles Leclerc with Ferrari, like then what are they gonna do? Daniel Ricciardo with Visa Cash App Racing Bulls, like
Or like, what are you gonna say? Oh, there goes the visas.
no,
Like,
they're gonna call them the Racing Bulls
yeah,
because that just feels a bit more normal.
yeah.
And their livery is very reminiscent of old school Toro Rosso, which I'm quite excited about actually.
No, I do like their livery. Like,
yeah,
I'm
their
happy
livery was
with
the
it.
first one that actually had paint on it.
The Visa Cash App. Like, you couldn't have done
Let's see how long that lasts for.
Racing Bulls by Visa Cash App. Like, you couldn't do that.
Yeah, that would have made more sense.
Like,
No,
Visa
it's
Cash
probably
App
because
presents Racing
Visa
Bulls.
and Cash App has probably paid so much money to have their names first before
do.
Racing Bulls. And so if it was Racing Bulls by Visa and Cash App, then it would have been less money.
You know, a great thing to do with your money? Charity. Visa
You know,
Cash App.
this is a much better use of their money than going in a submarine to go see the Titanic, okay?
Okay, valid. Anyway, so we didn't even go over the drivers yet. The drivers for the Racing Bulls are Daniel Ricciardo and Yuki Tsunoda. I was gonna at this point make a joke about like for now, but like genuinely,
No, it is for now.
For
Who
now,
are the reserve drivers? That's what I need to know.
I was gonna look up reserve drivers and then ran out of time.
I don't
but
think it's been announced
the
yet.
thing is, I really hope for like that team
That
that
this is what it stays.
that it stayed, because like that was so much, like that whole season.
It was too much.
That team was handicapped.
Yeah.
Because it was like there was no consistent driver except for Yuki.
Yeah.
Like it felt like they started the season behind and then they never caught up.
100%.
So I hope for both drivers' sakes, I hope no one breaks a hand. I hope no one gets kicked out. I hope they
I have
can
a
race.
feeling, knowing those two drivers, it's going to stay.
Yeah. So the team principal for this is Laurent, I think it's McKees?
We don't know.
I'm not
We
trying
apologize.
to be... I did look up a few videos, but they all just kept pronouncing his first name. And they were like, Laurent, how is it? And I was like, no, I need his last
French.
name. He is French. I believe he was with Ferrari last year, but I'm not sure what position he was in. But he is their team principal. So yeah, besides that, we just, again, the biggest news is, what are we going to call them? Like, what are the pundits?
Guess we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll see what's normalized. We'll see what Will and Laura and Jolyon and all them say.
Yeah.
So the next team on the grid is obviously Ferrari. The drivers for this season is Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz, and the team principal is Fred Vasseur. The biggest news is Charles' extension was announced about a week or two before Lewis's announcement.
Apparently, he did sign his extension knowing that Lewis was going to be signing a contract with Ferrari.
So Charles will continue on, and obviously with Lewis coming in, this is Carlos's last season with Ferrari.
We have no idea where he'll be going. Rumors are he might be going to Audi, but that's not until 2026. So for 2025... we have no idea. But later on, we're going to talk about whose contracts are up and where they might possibly go.
Yeah. So, Ferrari is similar to Mercedes. It's going to be really interesting to kind of see the vibe of not only the team, but also the drivers.
I think Carlos is going to try and prove himself this season more than he already has.
I think Carlos is going to prove himself, but I also think we've seen a bit of drama on the radios and miscommunication, or honestly lack of communication between the two drivers. So I think it's going to be really interesting because I think Ferrari's biggest weakness, in my opinion, is the fact that like their strategy and their communication is just not there.
Yeah.
They're not letting their drivers know enough for what I think as someone who's obviously never been a driver. But yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting to also see just like the conversations and the people that Carlos is talking to. But yeah, I think Carlos, I don't want to say he's used to change, but
dude's been tossed around the whole grid.
He's used to change, you know? He's not like Lewis and Charles where, you know.
Bro's being passed around the whole grid.
But yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting.
Yeah. I do feel like Carlos works well with most people, though, because he has gone to so many teams and he's been successful at every team that he's been at. So I think he knows how to...
I also feel like, from what I've seen, I feel like he leaves teams on good notes. Like,
people were talking about the whole McLaren video and how they were like, Ferrari, take good care of him.
He's a gift. I thought about
and that. And then people were like, Ferrari, you didn't take care of him. Like, you guys are basically throwing him in the trash.
Yeah, I would hope...
Especially because Carlos is the only non-Red Bull winner of last season.
Yeah, I would just hope that, like, for, like, the empathy of being a human being, that there would have... That Carlos was not blindsided by Lewis.
I don't think he was, but I don't think he was given as much time in advance as we had hoped. Like, it would be nice for a few months in advance.
But,
I think he was given, like, a few weeks.
But also...
Better than nothing.
This is his job. Like, the same stuff happens.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
it happens to all.
It happens to everyone.
Athletes.
Yeah.
So
that's Ferrari. The second to last team on the grid is Kick Sauber, which was formerly Alfa Romeo.
And also formerly Sauber.
Sauber. And then it's Kick Sauber for this season and 2025. And then it's Audi, I believe.
It's Kick Steak F1.
Kick Steak F. Yeah. I don't know. The name's been, like, tossed
I think it's Kick Steak F1 Sauber team or something like that. It's still, like, Sauber's team, I believe, but it has so many other... Yeah, it's
I think it's going to Steak right now.
I think it is Steak.
I don't know. It's so confusing.
There are the brand names. Their new colors are green and black.
And a very good, like
you will see
green.
Them on the track, 1,000%. They will be Audi in 2026.
Yeah. But their drivers are Valtteri Bottas and Zhou Guanyu. And then the team principal is Alessandro Bravi. And the biggest news about Kick Steak Sauber whatever we want to call it, is they actually are having a bit of drama surrounding their name. One of their sponsors, I believe, Kick,
I believe so.
is
It's Kick or Steak. One of them, because those are the
it's one of them.
Two main sponsors.
Deals with sports betting. And within Switzerland, which is where the team is based out of, they have quite strict advertising laws that deal with gambling. Like, from what I was reading, I believe, you cannot advertise for gambling. So depending on what country you're in and what country they're racing in, the name for the team will, change on the television or whatever. So this is already causing issues because they don't know if they've crossed lines, if they've crossed the legal threshold in Switzerland based off of the name. So I believe it's all normal, it's nothing out of the norm. But I believe
I just remember last year McLaren when we had the Dutch GP, they had to take their sponsor, I think it's Velo, off of their car because that was
e-cig.
Yeah, and they couldn't have any nicotine, tobacco products advertised on their cars.
But I think it's just the hazards of the sport and the way advertising works in the sport. So, yeah.
We'll just see.
So it'll be interesting to kind of see if the name does change again.
Yeah. So I just remembered to go back a team, Ferrari. I just remembered it. They do have a new sponsor, Celsius Energy Drinks. Are sponsoring Ferrari this year.
Yeah.
I've never tried one. You've had one?
No.
I thought you bought one once.
I had an Alani Nu one time.
Oh, that's right. Sometimes I feel like Celsius, I've heard so many people get the actual shakes from them because you get so much energy. But maybe it tastes better than a Red Bull. I used to drink too much Red Bull in college, so I feel like I need to try Celsius.
I mean, they all have a ton of flavors, but you don't like carbonation, so.
Well, yeah, but
that's your problem.
Sometimes you need it for a long car ride. It doesn't. You guys don't care about this. Let's go to Williams.
All right, so the final team is Williams. Their drivers this year are Alex Albon and Logan Sargent, and then the team principal is James Vowles. Vowles. Sorry. Jeez, that was a really aggressive correction. The biggest news out of Williams is that their team principal has kind of made it known that they're at a point of rebuilding, and so the next 2 seasons, this year 2024 and next year 2025, are years where obviously they want to perform their best, but they won't be disappointed by the outcome. That if the car breaks, the car breaks. They're using these years as formidable years to learn about the car, learn about each other as a team. And their focus is on the 2026 season. So it's just really interesting to kind of hear, not only in my eyes what I deem a fresh perspective, but also to just kind of see leadership. I feel like it's such a high pressure environment already to perform perfectly that it's really interesting and refreshing to see a leader be it's okay if we're not perfect. It's okay if it breaks. I think that there is so much learning that can be done. Obviously, you don't want that for forever. That's a problem if it continues to happen. But to sit there and to put that confidence in your team and be we're figuring it out together.
Yeah.
It was just really nice. I don't know.
He seems like the best team principal to me. I feel like I would love it. It's almost like when you think of them as head coaches in other terms.
Mentors.
I would love him to be a head coach on a team that I was a part of. It would have been so refreshing to have someone so calming and also wise as a head coach.
Well, and I think we've been in high-paced, high-stress situations with leadership that is high pace and high stress,
and leadership that isn't great
crumbles.
Yeah.
And I think when you have someone who is willing to understand mistakes
and very grounded
that I'm so excited to see the outcome for Williams.
Yeah. People were thinking that with Lewis Hamilton leaving Mercedes at the end of this year that there was a potential Alex Albon was going to move to Mercedes for next year. James Vowles has confirmed that Alex Albon's contract does not expire until the end of the 2025 season. So either Mercedes would have to like buy it out or something, which I don't think that really happens often, or Alex stays. I also don't think Alex is going to go to a team like Mercedes. I think Williams has made it well known that they don't want to just be a feeder team for Mercedes. They're not a junior team for Mercedes. There were also rumors that Red Bull was going to offer a contract to Alex Albon. I would see him going to Mercedes over Red Bull any day of the week, and I don't see him going to either. I could actually see Alex staying at Williams for a very long time.
Yeah. I think, too, I'm intrigued to see Logan's performance because I think, obviously, if we have the same performance as last year, I think this is Logan's out.
Yeah, this is
like,
last
if we
year.
see no improvement, I think this is, like, the year that, like, this is your second chance. If you mess up, you're not, this is it. I think whereas with Alex, I would be intrigued to see what he would be offered.
Yeah.
Like, I think hearing the way Alex interviews and the way James interviews, they have a lot of similarities in my eyes.
Yeah.
Where there's a huge, huge amount of patience.
I agree.
And there's this, like, wealth of knowledge where they don't interview in a condescending manner.
Yeah.
They take their time to explain things, which there's a lot of egos in this sport.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that James and Alex, from the outside perspective, have a lot of similarities, and I think that those similarities are not always easy to find in this sport. So, yeah, I agree. I would be shocked if Alex left, but I also think
I could see him at the very least, if he wanted to leave, I would think that he would stay for the 2026 season for the new regulations because they are building up for that. If the car is absolute shit in 2026, then I could see him going somewhere else.
And that's also the other thing, too, is, like, how long are you willing to sit there and be the driver of a really difficult car?
Yeah.
Like, how long can you mentally, you know, while, yeah, you do have leadership saying it's okay if we fail, how long as an athlete are you able to sit in that failure and be okay with it? You know, at the end of the day, everyone wants to win.
100%.
And even though we have
I think Alex Albon has what it takes to win the World Drivers' Championship.
Yeah. I just say also, they're all young, too, still.
Yeah.
Like, that's the crazy thing, so.
When Alex was on Red Bull, he was a baby.
Yeah. So, it'll be interesting to see if there's any movement on that front, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is all of the teams, and that is all the drivers for the 2024 season.
Awesome. I think we have a little bit more that we're going to go over, and we're going to get into that in a second.
Cool.
So, at the end of this season, there are 13 drivers' contracts that are expiring, and that does not include Lewis Hamilton because his contract technically did not expire yet.
Mm-hmm.
He had a clause that he could exit the team if he wanted to, so he is ending his contract a little bit earlier than he was technically supposed to.
I wonder if they, like, confidently put in that clause and they were like, he'll never use it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I don't know. But the 13 people whose contracts are up at the end of the 2024 season are Checo, Pierre, Esteban, Lance, Fernando, Carlos, Kevin Magnussen. It felt weird to call him Kevin. Because I always call him K-Mag. That feels weird.
I said Kevin and I immediately thought of Home Alone.
I know. Joe, Valtteri, Logan, Daniel, Yuki, and Nico. So there's going to be a lot of movement this silly season. I think we are going to have a few contracts that, like, either get extended or we're going to see some where it is their last season.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the Haas guys, I think they're retiring. One of them has to retire. I think so. I think Valtteri's going to retire.
I would be surprised if Valtteri, either he retires or he announces that, like, 2025 is it. Like, I just think he's kind of at the end.
Well, I could see him retiring, and then Carlos going to kick, steak, sour, Audi, whatever it is. I could see him going there just because he would then be there for the 2026 season already, because he would have his contract starting in 2025.
Yeah.
Checo, I think it depends on how his performance is, because if Daniel Ricciardo does really well, I could see them dropping Checo and then putting Daniel Ricciardo in. Yuki, I unfortunately think that Red Bull has been playing him and will play him for the rest of his career and will hold him on Visa Cash App Racing Bulls for a very long time. I don't think that they will ever move him up to Red Bull, and I think that he needs to escape.
That was a lot.
I'm sorry. I know that might be a hot take, but I don't think it is. I think that that's a reality that a lot of people are seeing.
I think that, unfortunately, some of these guys, like we've seen it with Charles, we're seeing it a little bit with Yuki. I think we saw it with Lewis, where they're at these teams for, like, quite a while. I think that there are promises or expectations that they all have, and then those are never met.
It was like Pierre at AlphaTauri. He needed to leave.
I hope Yuki will see...
I wouldn't be surprised if Pierre makes a comment to him. I'm talking like I know them as people.
Well, but I'm also curious, too, because formerly AlphaTauri Racing Bulls now has a new team principal. So I'm curious, too, to see that dynamic.
That's true.
That Yuki has, because, you know, their prior team principal was very seasoned, very well loved.
Yeah.
And so they have new leadership. So I think it's going to be interesting to see too if that leadership blends well with the drivers or not.
Yeah.
So I think that there is a lot to take in when it comes to Yuki, when it comes to Daniel Ricciardo. Like, you have new team name, but you also have new team leadership. Yeah. And they're a team that was really freaking broken last year.
Yeah. I think Pierre and Esteban are there to stay at Alpine.
I could see, I could see them, having to not be on Alpine because they just don't vibe well. Like, I can see it being, they end up leaving because they just, cannot stand each other.
Yeah. I also think I could see Fernando Alonso actually retiring, for good. Just because they need to bring the young talent. I feel like I sound ageist when I say this, but there's so many young drivers. There's going to be a whole generation of drivers that just don't drive in F1 because people aren't retiring.
Yeah, I'm curious though if this is just changing of the guard though. If this is this cycle of Formula One, if it falls into this, that's the thing. I mean, we're new to it still, so we haven't seen over a few years. But
I just don't want Fernando to be like a Tom Brady.
I don't think he is. I
miss the gremlin of him, but
I don't think he is because I think that's if Max was Fernando's age, then he'd be Tom Brady.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, I think it's one thing if Fernando is. Yeah, he's older, but it's not like he's sweeping everything. At that point, you're why are you racing?
Well, he's never, really sweeped anything because he's one of the best drivers who has been on many shitty, not shitty teams, but they happen to be the years that he was on those teams, the cars were not good. Yeah. But they are historically great teams.
Yeah.
He was on McLaren for a long time, and their cars just, weren't great for him. So, we shall see for him. Anyone else? I'm waiting for Lance Stroll to just peace out.
Yeah. I could see some of the younger guys also, getting to the point, with Lance, where you see, there's just not this,
passion.
Obsession, at least from our perspective. Now, that just might be his personality.
I think he is just a bit more of a chilled person.
But, yeah, I mean... Obviously, with the current financial situation of Aston Martin, I would be surprised if Lance resigns. He's with Aston Martin.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I think it's going to be kind of crazy. I'm also curious, too, if the Lewis timing of his announcement is going to throw silly season to the wind, and we're just going to have random announcements throughout the whole season.
I think so.
So... It's going to be really interesting to kind of see on multiple fronts where people go and how these things are announced.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see if anyone does retire.
Yeah, I think I'm going to cry when someone retires. I know I will for sure.
Yeah.
The last person that we mentioned earlier, Logan Sargent, I do think that this is his last season.
If his performance is the same as last year, it is his last season. If he improves, maybe. But I think if his performance is the same, if not worse,
they're going to bring someone else in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to pull a Nick DeVries and cut him halfway through the season.
Oh, absolutely not. That's not
I do think that
their character.
Yeah, I think that they're going to go the full season. But my heart hurts because I think we're gonna know.
It's gonna be really sad watching him this season if he doesn't do well.
Yeah.
Because he's gonna know halfway through that.
And I hate
over.
listening whenever they do him on the radio at the end of the race. And he's just like, I tried. It's like, don't do that to us, F1. Like, don't do that.
It's like the equivalent of watching the NFL. Like,
oh my God,
the Super Bowl and watching the 49ers players, the confetti falling on their shoulder. Like, oh, God. Just rip my heart out, please.
Yeah.
I think that's everything related to contracts expiring this season. When anything is announced relating to these people's contracts, we will let you guys know.
Yeah. Follow us on our socials. It'll be posted there first.
Yeah.
I think the last thing we're going to just touch on are our top 3 driver and team predictions.
And then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
Perfect. 2024 season predictions. We decided to just do top 3 drivers and top 3 teams because
Emma wanted to do her whole grid, and I was like, no.
Yeah.
We don't have time.
I think I could do the whole grid for teams. For drivers, I don't think
crazy.
I could.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's too many. Do you want to go first? Who's your first driver?
Okay, obviously Max.
Same.
Like, that's stereotypical, but I also don't want to set myself up for disappointment.
After seeing the video of the RB20, Max is gonna win this season. If that's not true.
Who's your number 1, Max?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I just obviously the rest of my answers, the next 2, and then all 3 of my team predictions are completely unhinged, but Max is the only sound one because, consistency is key.
Yeah, Mary Kendall went a little unhinged. I went very realistic for me, I think.
Yeah, I thought I'd have fun with it.
I wish I could have had more fun with it, but...
Yeah. All right, so second driver. Who's your second driver?
Lando. He's going to get there so close to winning, and he's not going to do it. I could see him coming in second in, every single race this season.
I think...
How sad would that be? So close to the win.
Sad.
Every time.
Even in
sprints. Not getting it.
Even in sprints.
Yeah, Oscar wins
second.
1.
Yeah.
And then Lando nothing.
Yeah. That would be horrible.
It's the curse, man.
So my second driver is Carlos Sainz, because in my head I have this kind of, character, vengeance arc where, he's like, Ferrari, look what you gave up. And then he gets second.
He's going to listen to Reputation all season
He's
long.
going to watch the Karate Kid on repeat. He's just going to, the Karate Kid, Rocky, all the motivational, he's going to watch it, and then he's going to come in second. Yeah. That's my
love
prediction.
That for him.
Yeah.
Who's your number 3?
Oscar Piastri, because I just think he would do it. And then he would be like, I don't brush my hair, and then walk away. He would
I'm going to go find Lily, bye.
Yeah. He'd be like, where's my pescatarian girlfriend? I feel like he would somehow slip
Where's
in.
my pescatarian?
The other thing is, too, I feel like...
It's so random.
It's a really...
I mean, it's very true, though.
It's
because
a specific clip.
Yeah, and Lando was like, I hate pescatarians.
Yeah, that's
and Oscar, my girlfriend's a pescatarian. Well, your girlfriend's lovely. Sorry.
Okay, the reason why I have these 3 as my 3 is because I also have made it into my head that the drama with everyone else is just going to get so crazy that Max, Carlos, and Oscar are just going to end up the top 3, and they're going to be like, we don't know how it happened.
I could totally see that happening.
Yeah. Because I feel like they're the 3 that would be unaware of everything else.
Yeah. Except Carlos Sainz's mom like, goes ham on Twitter and, like, will, like, hate on Charles on Twitter. Allegedly.
That's crazy if that's true.
Isn't that whack? Can you imagine if Mom did that to our teammates?
The conversations would be stern.
It would not be comfortable.
Yeah. There would be boundaries.
I just know Mom's gonna hear this and start cracking up.
Yeah. Mom, don't get a Twitter. Or it's X now. Don't do that.
Oh, sorry, I forgot.
Yeah.
X. Anyways, my third is Charles Leclerc. I think that he's going to come very close to winning again, and it's just not going to happen, and Lando's going to beat him out. I think he's going to have a few races that he DNFs because it's Ferrari, unfortunately, and I think he might win a race or two.
It's okay. He'll release an album. And
He did release an EP. Yeah. It's pretty good, actually. Our brother sent it to me on Instagram and was like, "Are you gonna announce this to your followers?" I'm like, "I've already posted a video, like a screenshot of me listening to it to our story. Like, his music is actually, I love piano, so it's pretty good. I enjoy it."
I was like, piano's a classic.
It was his music was on my top 100 last year.
Out of all of the instruments, piano's a good one.
Yeah, piano is a good one.
Sturdy, consistent.
Black and white goes with everything. You have honorable mentions.
I do. So I have two. I think Lando's going to get fourth merely because something's going to happen. He's going to disappoint himself. And then I think Alex Albon is just going to be incredible and somehow get fifth. But this is also like...
I would love to see a Williams podium this season.
I just like... This is also my hopes, like... I'm putting them fourth and fifth because I want them to just do well consistently.
Yeah.
But
I hate seeing them do poorly, those two.
Yeah, Lando is like, whenever he gets
really hard
sad, I'm like, no, I'm sad. And then Alex is just, they're both, I mean, I think all the drivers are pretty hard on themselves. But, yeah, those are my honorable mentions. I just hope that they do well. But what about your teams? Who's your number one?
Red Bull, I wish it wasn't so, but again, that clip of the RB20, I'm just depressed and I'm remembering the Dutch anthem. It's in my nightmares.
My number one's Williams. I think they're going to pull it out. I don't know. I think it's going to be, it's just going to be amazing.
So how does that math work with a Williams driver being number 5, but then...
It works.
Okay.
It works.
It doesn't work?
Well, my lists don't match. Like...
Yeah.
Like,
I was thinking of it in a matched way, and I accidentally matched them exactly to their teams.
I'm not in a matched way. I'm in a, like...
Unhinged.
If I can't get Max Verstappen as 1, then I'll take Williams as 1.
Okay.
Like... These are just, like, it makes sense in my mind. It won't make sense to anyone else.
Yeah, the math ain't mathin'.
But I wasn't thinking about the math when I made this. This is just, what do I want?
Oh,
like,
I was thinking about this in a realistic way.
No.
If it was what was I want, it was going to be Lando World Driver Champion, Oscar number 2, Alex number 3.
See, okay, we clearly did the same assignment very differently. I did what I want.
Oh, no. Why would I want Max to win and Red Bull to win?
I don't know.
I'm not a Max or Red Bull hater, but I would love a change.
That's why I did Williams.
It's just like, I don't hate Tom Brady.
But like,
or the Patriots, but we're also from New York. So like, we just like the Patriots and Tom Brady, so we would have loved to see them fail growing up.
But yeah, I was thinking math when I made this list. I kind of forgot that they go hand in hand.
Yeah. What's your number 2?
McLaren.
Okay, we agree on that one.
Which makes sense, because
I could really see them coming number 2.
I just feel like...
As long as they get it from the go.
I feel like out of every team in the top... Like, out of the top half of the teams, I feel like they're the one that just is, like, the calmest right now.
They don't seem panicked.
Like, I feel like... You know,
Which could be a good thing or a bad thing.
Zach Brown's walking through the factory with his pups. Like, they're casual. Like, they're keeping it cool. And I don't know. I feel like they're really, like, there's a lot of drama happening on other teams. There's a lot of chaos.
Yeah.
And I think McLaren is just like, we don't have anything to worry about.
Yeah. Number 3.
Mercedes. I want them to kind of be like, you thought our car was shit last year.
Season.
Like, yeah, they're like, the way I have Carlos as number 2, I have Mercedes as number 3. Like, I love Lewis.
I wish I could do that.
I kind of want them to be like, look what you missed, Lewis.
Yeah. I put Ferrari at number 3.
Like, can you imagine if Lewis transfers?
Could you imagine
and, like,
if Ferrari
is like 10th? I mean, it would never happen, but
you never know.
Like, that would be crazy.
It would be crazy.
Like, that's the thing, to know that Lewis is making this announcement before the season's even started, where he even knows what the Ferrari looks like.
Yeah.
And
I want to know what they get. What stats did they show him? What data did they show him?
Like, that's the thing. Like, I'm just there.
That's why I'm putting Ferrari at 3rd, because I think it's going to be better.
It has to be better.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, it's going to be exhausting this year. Like, I can already
imagine how exhausting it is for them.
For, like, the real people.
Yeah, the ones that actually driving the car.
We're just
watching the races and talking about them.
So much doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I think it's anyone's game, though. I think there's already so much crap going on that I think it's going to be a distracting season.
If the Red Bull car is phenomenal, I think it's, again, going to be whoever's the best of the rest. I think sometimes the Red Bull, if it's like 30 seconds ahead of everyone, it's almost like they're not even they're not playing the same game as everyone else.
Yeah, I almost people are gonna like hate, but it like yeah, they're
in a
driving
playing field.
They're in a boat and we're swimming.
Yeah,
like that's the problem, is that they're so technologically advanced and the other teams can't get there, and it's like, what are you doing? What do you know that the other teams can't get there?
Yeah.
Like,
what do you know?
Like, what is
That's a good question.
Because there has to be,
Adrian Newey, tell us.
I mean, that's what separates them. And maybe, I want to know, for people who watch the sport, when, like, Mercedes was winning the way Red Bull is, like, were the gaps that
They
large?
weren't winning as much, though.
Like, that's the thing.
Like,
the gaps weren't as big. It wasn't this blowout of a season.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I think.
Yeah, Lewis was winning a lot. He might have won, like, half of the races in the season, but he wasn't winning this much.
Yeah.
So.
But, yeah, well, this is episode 1
of season 2. There's only one last thing I want to comment on before we close up the episode. As we close up the episode.
Mention.
Yeah, quick honorable mention before we end the episode. The other day it was announced that Charlotte Tilbury, the makeup company, is going to be sponsoring a driver in F1 Academy, which is absolutely huge. There were some mixed opinions on it. We are super excited about it. I think it's going to be really cool. The helmet is covered in, like, the Charlotte Tilbury, like, lipstick lips. And same with the car. And it's just, like, it's so much more exciting looking than any of the guys' cars in F1. And knowing, like, I know Charlotte Tilbury has been, like, personal sponsors before for drivers, but they've never been a full-on team sponsor, and like an actual livery sponsor. So for this to happen to this extent, it's really cool. And you just know that this is going to cause other makeup brands, other, like, quote-unquote girly companies to come in. But also, makeup isn't just for girls anymore.
Yeah, I think that was the thing. There was, like, some negative feedback about, like, oh, like, this is just, like girls, we can only wear makeup. And it was like, well, makeup
Charlotte Tilbury has
makeup is
universal,
number one. Anyone can wear makeup. And number two, like, think about the sponsorships that the guys have. Like, I'm sorry, I'd rather be sponsored by Charlotte Tilbury than freaking Oracle. Like, I don't know. What are you gonna give me, a phone? Like an office phone?
Don't
like,
protect your data.
Like, yeah. I just, like, I don't know. I think sponsors are really weird and funny, because I think if you were to sit there and figure out every F1 sponsor, I'm sure that there are issues that a lot of people would have with some of them.
Yeah.
But I think Charlotte Tilbury also has an incredible platform. It's one of the biggest makeup companies,
it's one
brands.
Of the trendiest over the last couple of years.
And I think elevating women in F1, having a big brand like that.
Hey, doing my makeup, I use a lot of Charlotte Tilbury products, and I was so excited putting it on the last few days, because I'm like, they're actually doing something and investing in something that I care about.
Well, and that's the thing too, is like they're investing in young women in motorsports, and that's the way we're kind of looking at it. Is
I would love to go and buy their products to support them, just because they are helping young
they're
women.
also shining a light on F1 Academy, which is something that F1 Academy needs, that these young women need, and more people talking about it, better.
Yeah.
Like, this is a platform that is well deserved by these young women. So,
agreed.
If their freaking car has lipstick lips all over it, heck yeah. Like,
yeah, 100%.
I'm not gonna have an issue with that.
Yeah.
But,
I think that's it.
Yeah.
I think we're done then for the episode.
Yeah.
First episode of the second season.
We're getting back into it.
Yeah. So next weekend there is the season of Drive to Survive that comes out, and there is preseason testing. And then the weekend after that we have the first race. Just a reminder, I'm pretty sure the first race is not a Friday, Saturday, Sunday race. I think it's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday race because of the timing and location of where it is.
Okay.
I think it's in Bahrain. And so just the timing of it, it's going to end up being Thursday, Friday, Saturday for those in the United States.
Yeah.
We will post, obviously, the schedule like we usually do, and like the results and everything else. And then we'll get back into the swing of doing an episode after every single race, and then an episode throughout the race weekend. Throughout the race week.
Yeah.
Try to say words with an R and a W right after each other over. Oh, that was hard.
You gotta do the like Sharpay Evans.
I'm not gonna do that right now.
Just does it on film.
All right, guys. Until next time.
Talk to you later.